Hi everyone, welcome back to the workshop for session 2. Sorry. Okay, now we are at the session 2 of the workshop 4. We will look at the sample of the program in array. For the first sample question, we are given that the following are the marks of the particular student. We have 70, 62, 72, 89, 90, 56, 40, 13, 16, and 99. So now the question asks us to store all of the values onto the array. Write a complete program to determine the number of A's, B's, C's, and F. F means field. Obtained by this group of the students. The grades are determined using the table below. So here we have the table. Here we have the range of the marks in the first column. And the second column, we have the grade. If the student obtain 80 until 100, the student will get A. If the student obtain 60 until 79, then the student will get B. For the range of 50 until 59, the student will get C. For those students who get the marks below 50, then they will fail. So it will show the grade of F. Here we have the sample of the output. We have to show the output of number of A, number of B, number of C, and number of F. So we have to calculate according to the marks that we have. So for the first mark, we have to find out the range. If 70 is between the second category, 60 until 79, then the first student is obtaining the grade of B. So we have the number of students so far is 1 for the grade of B. If the second one we have 62, then it will be in the range of the second category also. So it's between 60 until 79. So the category of the grade will be B. So for now, we have 2 students obtain B. Then we proceed to the third one, 72. 72 also in the range of the 60 until 79. So now we will have 3 students obtain B. Now we just proceed to the following marks. So we have 89. 89 is in the range of 80 until 100. So for now, for the grade A, now we have 1 student. And then we proceed to the marks of 90. 90 is in the range of 80 until 100. So it's in the grade of A. Now we have 2 students obtain A. So for 56, we will be in the range of 50 until 59. This is in the category of C. So far we have 1 student obtain C. Then we proceed to the 40. 40 is below 50. So the student will obtain F. So the number of students so far we get to obtain the grade of F is 1. So we just continuously check for other grade. So at the end of the program, we should output how many students get the grade of A. So here we have 3. How many students get the grade of B? Here we have 3, and C we have 1. Field we have 3 students field. So for those marks that under 50, we have 40, 13, and 16. So these students or having the grade of F. So here we have the suggested solution in C++. So for now, I will switch the screen to the compiler. So we straight away look at the code inside the compiler. Okay, this is the compiler for C++. So to solve the problem that we have just now, first we have to declare the counter to calculate the number of the students that get A, B, C, or F. So this variable A, B, C, and F is to store the number of students that getting this category of grade. So if A means that it will in the category of A, if B, it will be in the category of B. For C, it will be in the category of C. For F, it will be in the category of F. So this is just to keep track the number of students that get the particular grade. Okay, now we have the declaration and initialization statement for array. Here we have the array name of marks. Then we have the data type of integer. And we have the assignment operator. After that, we just assign a sequence of the value to store inside the array. So we have 70, 62, 72, 89, 90, 56, 14, 14, 16, and 99. If we don't declare the size of the array, then it will just follow the number of initializer. So depends on how many items that we have assigned to it. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here we have total 10 items. So the size of the array marks will be 10. After that, if you want to access each of the value inside the array, we can use the index number. Here we have the for loop to find out the range of the grade for each of the mark from the student. So here we have the for loop. This for loop is to update the value of index number in the array. Here we have I is equal to 0. The index number will always start with 0. Here we have 10 items. So the condition we will look until I is equal to 9. This is the update statement to update the index number for each loop by 1. Okay, when I is equal to 0 means that we have the index number of 0. The position in the array will be the first item. So the first item we have 70. Here we have if else statement. So we just check if for the first value, if I is equal to 0 means that we have 70. If 70 is larger than or equal to 80, if it is true, then we just put true first. If it is false, then we just put false. Okay, for this condition, we know that 70 is not larger or equal to 80. So this is false. When we have the AND operator, means that both of the expression must be true. So since the first one already false, then we don't have to evaluate the other expression anymore because the whole condition will become false. Now we go to the second condition. Here we have 70 is larger than or equal to 60. So this condition is true. If it is true, then we have to check for the second condition. So here we have 70 is less than or equal to 79. So this is also true. True and true, we get true. So we know that this condition is true. Then we have to add the counter of B. Here we initialize B as 0. Now we have B++. So now the counter we will add 1 after we exit this statement. So since this condition is true, then we no longer check the rest of the condition. So for now, we have b is equal to 1. After that, we just look again. So now we have I is equal to 1. So when I is equal to 1, we have the second value 62. So for the same, we just check for the first condition first. 62 is larger than or equal to 80. So this is not correct. So we know that this condition is false. Now we go to the second condition. 62 is larger than or equal to 60. So this is true. Then we have to check the second expression. 62 is less than or equal to 79. So this is true also. So for now, the whole condition is true. So we have to execute the statement here. B plus plus. Just now we have the value of 1. Now we need to add another 1, so it becomes 2. Again, we will ignore the rest of the condition. Then after that, we just look again. I is now equal to 2. For 2, we have the third value in the array. So 72 is larger than or equal to 80. So this condition is false. Now we go to the second one. 72 is larger than or equal to 60. Yes, true. And 72 is less than or equal to 79. So this is also true. So now B, we have to update to 3. After that, we just ignore the rest. Then we just look again and we increase the I value. So I value is now equal to 3. So if we have index number of 3, means that we have the item number 4 in the array. So 89 is larger than or equal to 80. So this is true. And then we have 89 is less than or equal to 100. So this is also true. The whole condition will become true. Then we will add the counter of A. So A is initialized to 0. So now we increase it by 1, means that so far we have 1 student get the grade of A. So we just keep loop until we check all of the marks that we have inside the array to find out the category that it is. After the for loop, this is just to check which category of the grade for each of the marks. After that, we just need to print out the value. We only print out if there is a number for the grade that student get. So means that if at least one student get that grade, only we will print out. So if A is larger than 0, if there are some value in the counter of A, then we just see out number of A, so we just print out the value of A. If B is larger than 0, then we will just display the number of B, number of students that get B, same for C and F. So these are all if statement, means that this all if statement will be evaluated. So these are individual. So after we evaluate the first one, we will evaluate the second one, the third one, and the last one. So now I try to compile the program. So here we have the output. So we can see that number of A, we get 3, number of B, we get 3, number of C, we get 1, and number of F, we get 3. So this is exactly the same with the sample of output in the slide. So this is about the sample program of the question number 1. So now let me switch back to the screen of the slide. So this is the sample of the source code that we used just now. Okay, now we look at the sample 2 of the program. Table 1 below shows the average temperature of different cities in May 2022. So here for the first column, we have the list of cities: Kuala Lumpur, Beijing, Canberra, Cairo, Eureka, and Moscow. Then we have the temperature for each of the city. So for Kuala Lumpur, we have 34.5. Beijing, we have 9. Canberra, we have 39. Cairo, we have 22. And Eureka, we have negative 29.6. And Moscow, we have negative 3. So now we have to write a program to determine the lowest temperature and the highest temperature among the cities. A sample output is shown below. So this is the sample output that we have to get. The city with the lowest temperature is Eureka. The city with the highest temperature is Canberra, because Eureka is having the lowest temperatures of negative 29.6. For Canberra, is having the highest temperature, which is 39. So now we have to write a program. So for the same, we have the suggested solution in C++. Okay, now I would like to change the screen to the compiler. Okay, here is the solution. So this is in C++. First, we have to declare two arrays. The first one will be the array that we name is city with the data type of string, because we want to store the city's name. So here we didn't declare any size of the array. It will depend on how many items that we have assigned to it. Here we have Kuala Lumpur, Beijing, Canberra, Cairo, Eureka, and Moscow. So this string value will be inside the double quotation mark. And for the city temperature, we declare another data type of the array, which is double, because we want to store the value with decimal point. Here we have a sequence of the value. So this is called parallel array, means that each of the items is related to each other. So for Kuala Lumpur, the first item is Kuala Lumpur for the city. So the temperature for the first item should be related to the Kuala Lumpur. It is 34.5. For the second temperature, it should be the temperature of the Beijing. So we have 9. And followed by Canberra, the temperature of Canberra is 39. And we have Cairo, 22, Eureka, negative 29.6. And the last one, Moscow, we have the temperature of negative 3. So these both are called parallel array. So now we have to compare the temperature. So which city is having the highest temperature and the lowest temperature. Here we declare two counter to we declare two variables to store the index number. So we have the highest and also the lowest, because we want to store the index number for the highest one, and we want to store the index number for the lowest one. So this is to store the city, this index number will be referred to the city and also temperature, which is having the highest or the lowest. So here we use for loop. For this for loop, we have I is equal to 1 until I is less than 6. So here we just compare we just compare the temperature okay, for city temperature I, so now we start with the index number of 1. So means that we have the value of 9. Index number 1, we have the second value. We compare with the highest. So index number of highest, we have 0. Means that we have this temperature 34.5. So we just check if 9 is larger than 34.5. If it is, then we will assign the index number to highest. If it's not, then we just ignore this statement. Then for the lowest one, we also check the temperature. So city temp 1, we have the value of 9. So we check if it's lower than the first temperature. Lowest we initialize to 0. So it is related to the first value. So 9 is less than 34.5. Now we have to assign the I value, the current I value, which is 1, to the lowest. So now the lowest index number will be 1 because 9 is lower than 34.5. So this is how we compare. So we just look again, and when I is equal to 2, so we have 39. So we just check if 39 is larger than the city temp with the index number of 0. Just now we haven't updated, so it's still 0. So we just compare. If 39 is larger than 34.5, if it is, then you just reassign the index number to the highest. So now we are at the index number of 2. So 2 is assigned to the highest. So means that this Canberra is having the highest temperature for the moment. Then we check if this city temp I, we have 39 is less than the city temp lowest. So just now lowest we update to 1. So we just compare with 9. 39 is less than 9. No. So this is not correct. This condition is not true. So we remain lowest with the index number of 1. So we just keep looping and keep updating the highest index number and also lowest index number. So after we finish checking all, we can just see out the statement. The city with the lowest temperature is city lowest. So just now we are comparing the temperature, but the index number is related to each other. So if the city with the lowest temperature, the index number is, let's say we have the index number of 4. So it's related to the index number of 4 in city also. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have Eureka. So I can try to compile. So we can see that the lowest temperature is Eureka. And for the second statement of the cout, the city with the highest temperature is, so we just use the index number of the highest that we found. So for now, the highest should be the city of Canberra, which is 39. So 39 is with the index number of 2. We have 0, 1, 2. So this is the index number of 2. If we have index number of 2 for the city, we will get Canberra. So this is how we get the output. So the city with the highest temperature is Canberra. So this is about the sample solution for the question number 2. Of course, you can try with other languages. So this is just the suggested answer in C++. So now I will switch back to the slide. So this is the sample code in the slide. It's the same with what I compiled just now. Okay, now we look at sample question number 3. Given that the following are the marks of a particular student, we have 34, 56, 12, 89, and 37. Write a complete program to sort the numbers in descending order. So this is the sample output. We have to sort it. The larger one will be the first one, 89. The second one will be 56. The third one will be 37, followed by 34 and 12. So we just sort this sequence of the value in the descending order, from the larger value until the lowest one. So for the same, we have the sample output, sample code. This is suggested answer in C++. So now we try to compile this code inside the compiler. Okay, this one is the Python tutorial that in the website. So I would like to show you this sample code. Okay, so this is the sample solution for the problem number 3. Okay, here we define the size of the array. This is the constant value. We have the variable name of array size. This is a constant value macro. So we have the value of 5. Here we have the main function. So inside the main function, we just declare the array. So we have the value of integer. So we just declare the data type as integer. And then we have the name of array numbers, and the size of the array is referring to this constant variable, array size. We have 5. So now we just initialize the value to it, 34, 56, 12, 89, and 37. We just follow the sequence of the value that the question mentioned. So since this is in integer data type, we also want to declare some of the variables with integer data type. So we just comma, we put I, comma, j, and we have another variable of 10, which is in integer also. So we just separate the variables with comma. After that, we have the for loop. For this for loop, this is just to compare. This for loop is the algorithm to sort the value in descending order. So we just check which value is lower. So if it's lower, then we just swap the place. So this is the display for how we're going to swap the value. So when we declare the array, we have the array numbers, and this is the array. So each of the array storage, we are going to store the value with integer data type only. And this is the index number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we have the size of 5, so the index number will start with 0 until 4. So now I click next. So after you execute this statement, which is the green color arrow, is the line that just executed. So it will store the number accordingly. 34 to the first location with the index 0, 56 with the index number of 1, 12 with the index number of 2, 89 with the index number of 3, and 37 with the index number of 4. So now we have to proceed to the for loop here. I is equal to 0. And the condition is I is less than array size, which is I is equal to 4. This is the maximum index number that we can loop. Then for the inner one, we have j is equal to I plus 1. And then the condition is j is less than array size. For the same, array size is 5. Then we have the increment operator. So for I is equal to 0, we have the first value, 34. Then here we have the inner for loop, j is equal to I plus 1, means that we have 0 plus 1 equal to 1. So we have the value of 56. So now we have to check the condition. If numbers with the index number of 0, I is not equal to 0, means that we have 34. And we have the number of index j, which is 1, we have 56. So now 34 is less than 56. So this condition is true. If it is true, then it will not execute this statement. So I try to click next. You can see that I is in the position of 0 and j is in the position of 1. Okay, now we have to compare 34 with 56. So now 34 is less than 56. So this condition is true. If it's true, then it will just assign temp is equal to numbers 1. So, I is 0, numbers with the index of 0. So then we will store the value of 34. So it will store the value of 34. Then after that, we just swap the value. So this is just to swap the value. So you can look at this location. Later on, we have to, if it's necessary, then it will swap the value. So you can see that number with the index 0, we assign the number with the index of 1. So just now index of 1, we have 56. Now it assigned to the location of index number 0. So now we have 56. After I click next, it will execute this statement. We assign the number of j, which is location index number 1, with the value of 10. Then just now we store the first value of 34. So now it swapped the value already. So the first location we have 56, and the second location we have 34. So now we try to loop again. So now we have j is equal to 2. We're still inside the inner for loop. J is equal to 2. So we have the value of 12. So we just check if 12 is, this will be the first value. So this value will already updated to 56. So 56 is less than 12. So we try to check if it is less than 12. If it's not, then it will just proceed to the j is equal to 3. It will just ignore the statement inside the if condition because the condition is false. So now it's equal, j is equal to 3. So if we have the value of 3, index number of 3 means that we have the value of 89. So now we just compare again. The first value that we have will be 56. So 56 compare with 89. So 56 is less than 89. So this condition is true. If it is true, then we have to reassign the value of 10. So now I click next. So you can see that 10 is now equal to 56. So now we are going to swap these two values. So now I is 0. We will swap with the I with 3. J with 3 index number. So 56 will swap with 89. So when I click next, so the first location, it will be override with 89. So now we will reassign the value of index 3. So now I click next, then it will become 56. So it will just check one by one. So now we have the last value. j is equal to 4. So for j is equal to 4, this condition is false because 89 is not less than 37. So it will not execute this statement. So after that, we have finished loop the inner one, and we go back to the outer one. So I is not equal to 1. So for the value of I is equal to 1 means we have to compare the second value. So here we have the I value of 1, and j we will start with 2 because 1 plus 1 we get 2. So we just keep checking again the second value with the third one, with the fourth one, fifth one, and so on. If necessary, it will just swap the value. So this is how we get the descendant order of the value. So I just keep pressing next, then you can see the value keep swapping. So until the end, we will go to the for loop. So this is just to display the value. So for I is equal to 0, then we just display accordingly. So I is equal to 0, we have 89. This is the output panel. Then we have the second value is 56, followed by 37, 34, and 12. So this is just the step how we going to do the sorting. Of course, you have many other algorithms to do sorting. So this is just one of the sample. Okay, now we switch back to the slide. Okay, now we have the sample 4. Write a complete program to store the employee ID and employee name onto one-dimensional array, and the hours for each Monday to Friday onto two-dimensional arrays. Then calculate the total wages earned by the entire employee for 5 days. The pay rate is 3 ringgit 50 cents per hour. So this is the program input. We have the ID E0001, and we have the name of the employee, David Lee. Then this is the 5 days working hour. So let's say we have Monday, 5 hour, Tuesday, 6 hour, Wednesday, 7 hour, Thursday, 8 hour, Friday, 3 hours. So we have to calculate, So we have to calculate the total wages. So we have to add up this value and multiply by 3.5. So we will get the total wages. So this is the expected outcome. This is the first information of the employee. We have the second information of the employee, and we have the third one, and so on. So this is one set of the value for the employee. So each of the employee will have their own total wages. So the first one, we have total wages of 101.50. The second one, we have 101.50. Third one, we have 70, and so on. So this is the input of the program. This will be the expected output of the program. So we have to follow the question. Employee ID and employee name we store onto one-dimensional array. For the hours for each of the day, we have to store into two-dimensional array. So we just follow the question. For the same, we have the sample solution here in C++. So now we will look at the code inside the compiler. So let me switch the screen a while. Okay, please give me a minute. Okay, so here we have the input file. So we have the information of the employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, and employee 4. So here we have the code to calculate each of the employee total wages. So here is the solution in C++. Okay, for the first step, we have to declare the array, one-dimensional array and two-dimensional array. First, we have the array to store the ID. So we have to store the ID for each of the employee. So let's say we're not sure how many employees that we have. So we just declare the size of 100. Same for the name, we have the employee of 100 with the size of 100. So this is the array to store the ID, and we have another array to store the name. Here is the double two-dimensional array. So this is to store the working hour. So let's say we have 100 of the employees, and then we have 5 working hours for each of the, the working hour for each of the days. So we have 5 days. So I is just to increase the counter later on. So we want to increase the index number. And then we have another variable to store the total wages. Sorry, this is to calculate the total of the hour first, and then we store in the sum wages. Then after that, only we multiply by 3.5. Okay, this is to read from the input file. So we have let's say we have the file with the information of the employee with employee.txt is the file name. Then we just try to read the information. So we have getLine to read the employee ID. Then we just display the employee ID for the first one. Then we read the second line, we have the name, David Lee. Then we just display the employee name. So now we're still in the index number of 0, means that we have the first employee information. Then we have the for loop to store to read the working hour for 5 days. So we have j is equal to 0 until j is less than 5. So we just store these hours into the two-dimensional array. So for the value of I is referring to the first employee. J is referring to each of the working hours. So after that, we have the expression to sum out all of the working hour for the first employee. Then this one is just to loop. So when we read the first one, we have 5. So it will just display 5. Then we will have the sum wages initialized to 0. So 0 plus 5. So 5 will be stored into the sum wages. So we will look again when j is equal to 1, we have 6. So it will display 6, and then we will have 5 plus 6 equal to 11. So it will just keep accumulate the value until we look until j is no longer less than 5. Then we exit this for loop. Then we have the statement to update the index number. So this one is to display and calculate the first employee total wages. So we just calculate it and store inside the variable of total. So sum wages is the one that we have sum out all of the working hours. Then we multiply by 3.5. Then set precision is to display 2 digits after the decimal point. So this is the display of the value of the total widgets that we have. So after that, it will just loop again. So we have the second information. So it will just repeat again. Read the ID, then we read the name, and then we read the working hour for each of the working day. So it will just update the index number of I. If I is equal to 1 means that we have the second information of the employee. Then after that, we will increase again and read the third one. So now I try to compile. So this will be the output. So we can see that we display the ID, the name, and the working hour. After that, we have the total wages. So do the same for each of the employee. So this is about the sample 4, and we still have one more last question. Okay, let me share another screen. Okay, for the last sample program. So write a program that prompts the user to enter 10 character values. All the character values shall be stored in an array. Okay, please don't draw on the screen if possible. So determine how many of the characters entered are in uppercase, lowercase, and if is a digit. So here we have to ask the user to input 10 characters. From that 10 characters, then we have to determine how many of the character entered are in uppercase. Uppercase means capital letter, lowercase means small letter, and digit means there is a number value. So here again, we can use the array to store 10 characters. Then we can check according to the index number. So now we show the solution in the compiler. Okay, we have the sample program in C++. Okay, here we declare an array with the size of 10 because we want to store 10 characters. So the data type of the array will be character. And then we have the character to store the number of digits, number of alphabet in uppercase, number of alphabet in lowercase. So we start the counter with 0. So let's say we have digit with the 0 number, the lowercase and uppercase. So this is just representation of each of the type of the character. So after that, we want to calculate how many that we have in this category, digit, lowercase, and uppercase. So this is the initialization to 0. Okay, now we use for loop. We use for loop to ask the user to enter 10 characters. So we just store according to the index number. 0 until less than 10 means that we have index number from 0 until 9. So the first character will be stored inside the index 0. The second character will be stored inside the index 1 and so on. So the last character will be stored in the index number of 9. After we input, then we can proceed to check. Okay, now we have the for loop. For the for loop, so this is just to update the index number. So you can put any variable name for the index number. Here we use B. So we start the index number with 0. And we loop until B is less than 10 because we only have 10 items with the index number from 0 until 9. This is the update statement to update the index number. Okay, here we have if-else statement. We can use the predefined function of isDigit. So we just check. Okay, ARR is just the array name. Just now we ask the user to input into the array of ARR with the character data type. So now we just check. We check from the first character the user input first. So we have the index number of 0. So if the first character the user input is digit, means that this condition is true. If it is true, we're going to add the counter of the digit. If it's not true, then we proceed to the second condition, if it's upper. So this is a predefined function to check if this is uppercase. So we have the first character again. If the first condition is false, then we will check the second one. If the second one is true, then we will update the counter of uppercase. If it is false, then we proceed to the last condition, if it is lower. So if it is, then we add the counter of lower. So it will just check. So it will loop again. It will increase the value of B when the index number is equal to 1. Then we have the second input. So it will check again if it's digit, if it's uppercase, or it is lowercase. So it will just add the counter accordingly. After that, after we check everything, we already store each of the counter in each of the variables. Then we can now see out. We can see out the number of lowercase characters entered. So how many? And how many is uppercase? And how many is in digit? So now I try to compile. So now I can key in character. Character means that we have only one symbol. Can be alphabet, can be digit, can be symbol. Okay, now I key in the value. Okay, this is the 10 characters that I key in. So the first one, it will be storing inside the index 0. The second one will be index 1. The third one will be index 2, and so on. So here we have the output after we key in. So this is what we key in. So it will just display the output. How many of lowercase characters enter? So lowercase, we have I, K, D, and E. So total, we have 4 characters with lowercase. How about the uppercase? We have capital Y, capital L, capital G. So total, we have 3 uppercase alphabet. So it will display 3. And then the number of digit characters entered. So how many digits that we have entered? We have 9, 2, 4. So the total of digit characters entered is 3. So this is how we solve the solution, how we solve this question. Okay, let me go back to the slide. Okay, we also include the solution in the slide. Okay, so that's all for this session 2. And also that's all for today's workshop. Thank you very much. Good luck in your qualifying test. Thank you.